The gavel struck once. A sharp echo filled the silent courtroom. All eyes turned toward the man sitting at the defendant's table. Unbothered, silent, watching, the judge exhaled, flipping through the pages in front of him, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Mr. Musk, I was hoping we'd never have to meet again," he said, shaking his head. "And yet, here you are." The courtroom wasn't just full. It was packed beyond capacity. Reporters hunched over notepads, cameras ready to capture every second. Legal analysts whispered predictions. The prosecution's team sat tall, their confidence radiating through the room. This time they were ready. Musk remained still, his fingers lightly tapping against the table. If he was nervous, he didn't show it. If he had anything to say, he didn't offer it yet. The judge leaned back in his chair, studying him. "Tell me, Mr. Musk," he continued, voice thick with amusement, "do you just enjoy testing the limits of the law? Or do you genuinely believe they don't apply to you?" A ripple of laughter spread through the room. The prosecutor chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. This wasn't going to be a debate. This wasn't going to be another spectacle. This was going to be the moment Elon Musk finally lost. The prosecutor rose, adjusting his tie. His voice rang out, clear and full of certainty. "Your Honor, today we are not dealing with loopholes. We are not dealing with technicalities. We are dealing with direct, undeniable violations of federal law." He turned to the jury, stepping forward with practiced ease. "Last time, the defendant walked away because our legal system allowed him to. Today, that changes." Musk didn't flinch. He didn't shift. He didn't even blink. The prosecutor continued, holding up a thick document. "We have hard evidence, signed agreements, financial records, testimonies. His disregard for regulations is no longer up for debate." The judge nodded. "And I assume you have enough proof to make this quick?" "Oh, absolutely," the prosecutor replied, confidence dripping from every word. The gallery hummed with quiet murmurs. Headlines were already being written. Musk's reckoning. The day he lost. The fall of a billionaire. The judge tapped his gavel lightly. "Mr. Musk," he said, eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Anything you'd like to say before we proceed?" For the first time, Musk moved. Slowly, deliberately. He leaned forward, laced his fingers together, and let a smirk form on his lips. The judge frowned just slightly. The prosecutor's grin faded. The air in the room shifted, heavy with something unspoken. And in that moment, for the first time since the trial began, everyone had the same thought. Did we miscalculate? The prosecutor cleared his throat and took a confident step toward the jury. His movements were deliberate, controlled. This time, there would be no surprises, no sudden shifts, no loopholes. "We are not here to discuss theories or personal opinions," he said, his voice steady. "We are here because Mr. Musk knowingly ignored the law." He turned to the judge, lifting a stack of documents. "And this time, Your Honor, the facts leave no room for argument." The judge glanced at the papers, his expression unreadable. "Proceed." The prosecutor walked to the evidence table, placing one document down at a time. Government records, financial statements, compliance reports, each one proving that Mr. Musk's company operated outside legal limits. The jury leaned in slightly, following his every move. He held up a report. "Here we have an official warning issued last year. The defendant was explicitly told to correct these violations." He placed it down. "He did not." Another document. "This is an internal memo from his own legal team. They advised him to comply." He set it beside the first. He refused. Finally, he tapped a folder marked confidential. "And this?" He paused, letting the tension rise. "This is evidence proving that not only did Mr. Musk ignore the law, he did so deliberately." A few murmurs spread through the courtroom. The prosecutor exhaled sharply and faced the jury. "This is not about disrupting industries or pushing innovation. This is about a man who thinks he is above accountability." He turned toward the judge. "The law applies to everyone, billionaire or not." The judge nodded, flipping through a few pages in front of him. His smirk from earlier was gone. A reporter near the front row scribbled furiously in a notepad. Others exchanged glances. This wasn't like last time. The case felt airtight. In the gallery, spectators whispered among themselves. "He's done this time," one muttered. Another nodded. "Yeah, they actually have proof now," a legal analyst whispered to a colleague. "This is different. Musk isn't playing the system anymore. They've got him cornered." The media had already drafted their headlines. Elon Musk's luck finally runs out. Yet through it all, Musk sat motionless. Not shifting, not reacting. The prosecutor noticed. He frowned slightly but continued. "Your Honor, we are requesting immediate action. The evidence is overwhelming, the violations are clear, and there is no justification for his actions." He turned toward Musk, his tone sharpening. "And this time, no clever wording or technicalities will change that." Silence filled the room. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Musk, you have heard the accusations. This case is built on solid proof." His fingers tapped against the bench. "What do you have to say for yourself?" Musk lifted his head slightly, his gaze calm. Then, just as the room braced for his response, he smiled. The prosecutor's jaw tensed. The judge narrowed his eyes. Something wasn't right. Musk wasn't worried. He was waiting. Musk pushed his chair back and rose to his feet, adjusting his jacket with slow, deliberate movements. The room, tense with expectation, watched as he stepped forward. He didn't rush. He didn't fumble. He moved with the same ease he carried into boardrooms and launch sites. He met the judge's gaze, then glanced at the prosecutor. "I must say," he began, voice smooth and controlled, "the prosecution has done an impressive job assembling these accusations." A ripple of confusion spread through the courtroom. Complimenting the opposing side wasn't a typical move. The prosecutor's lips curled into a smirk, taking it as an admission of defeat. Musk let the silence settle before continuing. "But in their eagerness to prove me guilty, they overlooked one tiny detail." The smirk vanished. The judge leaned forward. Musk reached for the evidence table, flipping through the neatly stacked documents until he found the one he wanted. He held it up, the paper crisp between his fingers. "This contract," he said, tapping the top of the page, "the one they claim is undeniable proof of my violation, was signed after the alleged offense took place." A hush fell over the courtroom. The judge's brows knitted together. The prosecutor's fingers twitched at his side. Musk turned the document toward the jury, pointing at the date stamped at the bottom. "If this agreement was finalized after the so-called crime," he said, tilting his head, "then how exactly was I supposed to follow regulations that didn't exist yet?" A murmur spread through the room, growing louder by the second. The judge reached for the paper, scanning the lines with narrowed eyes. A muscle in his jaw tightened. He looked up. "Prosecution, is this correct?" The prosecutor snatched his own copy, flipping pages faster than intended. He swallowed. "Your Honor, that is irrelevant. The broader case still holds." Musk held up a hand. No, let's pause right there." He took a step closer, voice still calm. "You just said evidence is everything, that the law must be respected, that I had no room for debate." He gestured to the document. "But now that the evidence contradicts your case, suddenly, it's not important?" The prosecutor opened his mouth but found no words. Musk turned to the jury. "We're told laws are clear, unshakable, that they leave no room for interpretation. Yet right now, when faced with proof that this entire case stands on an impossible timeline, we're being asked to ignore it." The judge exhaled, rubbing his temple. Musk wasn't done. He picked up another paper, one the prosecution had barely touched. "Let's go a step further." He unfolded it and slid it across the table toward the judge. "According to this document, an official government record, by the way, there was no active investigation against my company at the time of the supposed violations." More whispers. A few gasps. The judge read quickly, then glanced at the prosecutor. "Is this accurate?" A pause. The prosecutor licked his lips. "Your Honor, these laws are complex. They require interpretation. Musk let out a quiet chuckle. Ah, so now we're interpreting laws. He turned back to the gallery, letting the weight of his words settle. Funny, isn't it? When I challenge outdated rules, I'm accused of twisting facts. But when their argument falls apart, suddenly it's about interpretation. The jury shifted in their seats. The courtroom's energy had changed. Musk folded his arms. So tell me, Your Honor, are we here to enforce the law? Or are we rewriting it in real time to fit a failing argument? The prosecutor slammed a hand on the table. That's enough. Musk barely reacted. He just tilted his head. Striking a nerve, am I? The judge let out a slow breath, fingers tapping against the bench. He wasn't laughing anymore. The room sat in stunned silence. And for the first time, it wasn't Musk on trial, it was the case against him. Musk reached for another document, flipping through the pages as if he had all the time in the world. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't rattled. He was in control. He ran a finger down the text and stopped, tapping the page lightly. This law, he said, his voice steady, the very one they claim I broke, contradicts another one they conveniently ignored. The prosecutor stiffened. Musk turned the document toward the judge. Right here, under the Technological Innovation Exemption Clause, any action taken that introduces an advancement not accounted for in existing regulations is legally protected. A hush spread through the courtroom. The judge grabbed his glasses and leaned in, eyes scanning the section Musk pointed to. His fingers tapped the bench as he read, his usual smugness replaced with something else. The prosecutor stepped forward. Your Honor, that exemption applies in rare cases. Musk barely looked at him. And this, he said, flipping a page, happens to be one of them. The jury exchanged glances. Reporters scratched hurried notes. The mood had shifted, though no one was quite sure how Musk had done it. He closed the file and clasped his hands behind his back, slowly pacing toward the jury. Let's say, he began, you invent something groundbreaking, something so new, so different, that the rules written decades ago don't even consider its existence. He stopped, meeting the eyes of one juror. Should outdated policies decide its fate? No one answered. He turned to another juror. Should progress be held back by laws written for a world that no longer exists? Again, silence. The prosecutor scoffed. That's a philosophical argument, not a legal one. Musk tilted his head. Is it? He strolled back toward the evidence table, flipping another document open. Because according to precedent set in multiple rulings, when existing laws fail to address an industry shift, new frameworks must be drafted before enforcement. The judge leaned forward, scanning the legal text Musk placed before him. The prosecutor clenched his jaw. That doesn't apply here. Musk nodded slowly. Doesn't it? The media watched, hanging on to every word. Musk wasn't just defending himself anymore. He was shifting the conversation entirely. The judge exhaled. His fingers drummed against the bench. He turned to the prosecutor. Does your argument address this clause? The prosecutor hesitated. Your Honor, we cannot let technicalities excuse reckless behavior. Musk smirked. Ah, but when it benefits your case, technicalities matter, don't they? The prosecutor slammed his fist on the table. The spirit of the law matters, Mr. Musk. If this loophole exists, then we must amend the regulation. Musk shrugged. Then amend it. But you can't convict someone for violating a rule that doesn't exist. The judge inhaled slowly, pressing his lips together. The power in the room had shifted, and everyone felt it. Musk stood tall, arms folded. He wasn't arguing anymore. He was winning. The judge sat motionless, fingers pressed together as he stared at the stack of papers before him. The room, once buzzing with confidence from the prosecution, now hung in absolute silence. He exhaled, adjusting his glasses before glancing at Musk. After reviewing the arguments and the evidence presented, he began, his voice steady but lacking its earlier amusement. This court finds. The gallery held its breath. Reporters gripped their pens. The prosecutor's shoulders tensed. No grounds to convict Mr. Musk. The judge set his gavel down. Case dismissed. A few gasps broke the silence. The prosecutor's head dropped, his hands clenched into fists. He opened his mouth to protest, but the words never came. He had nothing left. Musk, he barely reacted. No fist pumps, no exaggerated celebration, just a small nod, as if he already knew how this would end. The courtroom doors burst open. Outside, a wave of flashing lights and raised microphones greeted him. Mr. Musk, how does it feel to win another case? Was this strategy planned from the start? Do you think the legal system is broken? Musk slipped on his sunglasses, adjusting them with a casual flick of his fingers. His smirk returned. Simple, he said, pausing for a moment. I read the rules better than they do. The cameras clicked nonstop. Headlines were already being written. He didn't linger. He had no reason to. This chapter was over. And just like that, he walked away, leaving the world once again questioning the systems they thought were unshakable. The courtroom had emptied, but the impact of what happened still lingered. The judge, once certain of his authority, now sat deep in thought. The prosecution, once confident in its case, had been left with nothing but unanswered questions. And Musk, he had already moved on. But this wasn't just about one man winning a case. It was about something much bigger. How many others had stood before the law, trapped by rules that no longer made sense? How many had lost simply because they lacked the voice or the knowledge to fight back? If Musk had exposed contradictions in the legal system so easily, how many more flaws remained hidden? Laws are meant to bring order, but when they fail to keep up with progress, do they still serve justice? Musk didn't just defend himself, he forced the system to confront its own weaknesses. He proved that regulations written for a different era can't always govern the present. That power doesn't always come from authority. It comes from understanding the game better than those who created it. But here's the real question. Should laws evolve the way technology does? Or should tradition always take priority? The debate is far from over. What do you think?